because Teal Piper, the daughter of Roddy Piper, who I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of times, and I have so many audio interviews with him back at Apter's Alley at my house. This is the first time we've met since you were probably a baby.
Yeah.
You grew up very nicely.
Thank you. I worked really hard on it. I had a lot of vegetables, and I stretched to get higher. Yeah.
Yes. So So I'm going to ask you, of course, the usual tacky questions they all ask. What do you remember best about your loving dad?
He was somebody that you could go to for anything. Like he just could sense people's emotions. I know that sounds weird, but
it doesn't.
He had a very smart insight to people, and that's probably why he did so well in wrestling. Is he was just kind of brilliant at psychology, and he could just tell when something was wrong, and he would get it out of you and just change your day. Like you might be having a bad day, and you talk to him for 5 minutes, and you come out thinking you're like the new president of the United States. Like you just feel like you're on top of the world or something. And I really miss that influence he had on my life and my mental health, for that matter.
Yeah. What else did your dad instill into your life?
He was a very creative person. We used to do, a lot of people don't know this, but he was a very good musician. And from as long as I can remember, he could pick up just about any instrument and play by ear. And so when I was little, we would spend a lot of time playing guitar, piano, and singing and stuff like that together. And then obviously that creativity spanned into wrestling and spans into acting and all that. And I feel like I just learned so much about that side of the world and felt so inspired, to join into the entertainment industry through him.
What kind of music did he play?
He really loved folk, like Johnny Cash and the old school stuff.
I remember that now that you're mentioning it. Yeah.
Yeah, he really loved old school stuff, and he would work out to Irish music.
Yes. I actually remember that. I saw him in the gym, and so these days, what did he try and tell you when you were a kid? No, you're not getting into the wrestling business.
He would probably be freaking out right now a little bit.
Pardon the voice, by the way, but I go right into, he was such a large part of what I did. That voice just happens.
Oh, I do that voice too.
Okay,
he would be like, my swan.
Well, give me the voice.
He'd like growl at things. It was weird. He would growl and be like, my swan. That's the best I can do. He called me his swan because I was so ugly. Not because I turned out that great.
You turned out gorgeous.
I started out really weird looking, I guess, and he was worried.
Well, what did he say one day? Well, you're not getting into that business.
We didn't even approach the topic because I knew I think he had a hard road, and as you know, he was a heel back when being a heel was like a very, very scary thing.
Old school fans, he was a rule breaker.
Exactly, yes. And I think he felt like he went through a lot to keep us from that life. But wrestling's evolved a lot since then, and I think more than anything, he'd be very happy at where I'm starting at with WOW Women of Wrestling.
Yes.
Because it's just a very positive environment for women to be in, and it's a healthy time in the industry for women, and I think he'd be very happy about my timing getting into it.
I want to talk about WOW Women of Wrestling, but before I ask you that, when you were growing up and watching him wrestle either in person or on TV, were you ever concerned about his well-being in the ring?
I was absolutely concerned. Most of the time we weren't allowed to watch it because I would get too upset, and it would be very confusing because, you hear kids at school be like, oh, well, isn't wrestling fake? And then your dad comes home with real injuries, and then you see him wrestle again, and they're hitting him right where those injuries are. And it was just too much for me to watch.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until we were older that we were really allowed to watch it because it was just too hard.
Yeah, I mean, I remember shooting the dog collar chain match with he against Greg Valentine. Were you around at that?
I've seen it as an adult, but I definitely did not see it back then. But I do have that dog collar and chain in my house right now.
Do you really?
I do.
Wow. What are you going to use? You going to bring that to WOW?
I don't know. That's so special. I feel a little weird bringing his special things into my career. I don't think I'm worthy for that to be in the ring with me yet.
You gonna do this?
Are you kidding me? No. Greg Valentine in a dog collar match, no holds barred. No. You don't know no holds. You don't know no holds at all. How can you bar the damn hold? All he knows is whopping on my ear. Let me tell you something. Showdown, you bet. I ain't even settled my pony yet.
About WOW, Women of Wrestling.
So I joined WOW back in, I think, August. I signed with them.
On Access TV.
On Access TV on Saturday nights. And on November 23rd, you'll see the first episode featuring me, and I'll start to trickle in more as the season continues. And it's very exciting. I've been training with Selena Majors, and she's awesome. And, you know, it's kind of a dream to get to train with people like that. So I'm just learning as much as I can and getting as good as I can because I want a chance at a belt or something down the road.
Do you ever slip into your dad's mentality when you're training? Do you ever kind of like become Roddy Piper unconsciously?
It's become him. I think there
You know what I mean?
I do. There are aspects of him that I think I inherently take on. I think we all take on a little bit of our parents.
We do.
But then I'm also very much myself. Like, you know, to say if you're watching me, you're going to see another Roddy Piper is, you know, there'll never be another Roddy Piper. Ever, ever, ever. Certainly won't be me. And but there certainly are nods to him that I think I just do naturally or picked up from him along the way. But that's also very much me. I mean, Teal Piper's going to be, you know, I'm my own thing, and I have my own character that I'm bringing to the ring and that type of stuff. So, you know, hopefully it'll have a nice nods to him, though.
One of the things that he and I used to talk about all the time was the classic coconut incident with Superfly Snuka. You've seen that, I assume.
I have. I love that incident because he would sit there like pulling out the fruit and like making jokes and stuff. And it reminds me of just Dad at home. Like he had that same sense of humor. He wouldn't hit us with the coconuts at the end though. He wouldn't hit us with the coconuts.
No, I would
But when
hope
he would
not.
like make food, like, you know, he just had that same fun energy at home. And that's one of my favorite promos because of that.
The last few times I saw him, I'd go over to him and I'd go, "You know something, brother Roddy?" And he'd go, "Whoa!"
But try to fool us. You know, try to do something original. Try to do. It's the guys that get a bite. If you just happen to hit somebody in the head with a coconut, it gets a bit of attention.
That's right, brother.
Yeah, he went right into it. Another part of who you are that I want to discuss is your musical career.
Yes.
Yeah, the name of the single, I looked it up, was, and
So I have two singles out. The one that I just released is Anonymity.
that I couldn't pronounce it. Anonymity.
Yeah, I've stuttered over it myself a few
okay.
times. It's not easy to
Well,
spell.
we
by the
can
way.
think of it as a woman's name, Anonymity.
Yes, we could.
But tell us about how did this whole musical part of
So,
your life happen?
I have been doing music as long as I can remember. I've been writing. It was always a big passion project of mine to make an album, which I'm finally able to do. And unfortunately, my dad was actually going to do a song with me on it, and he passed too soon, which was a big bummer. But I think it's going well. I also have Amber Eyes on iTunes, which I wrote about my sister, actually.
Right.
And it's a fun song because the harmonica you hear on it, we actually were able to sample from a track that my dad was just improvising on. So for me, that makes it like special.
That's great. Before we go, catch us up with the rest of your family. Your mom, Kitty, is...
My mom, Kitty, is back in Oregon, and, you know, she's trucking along, just trying to figure out what to do. As you can imagine, losing Roddy Piper is a big persona in the household's just gone, and so everyone's kind of a little bit lost these last few years and figuring it out. And of course, she
But his
planned on
aura
spending her
is
whole
still,
life with him. So
his aura is still everywhere.
Yeah.
What about the rest of your brother and your sister?
my brother, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him join back into wrestling. I think now that I've gotten involved, I think it's kind of reignited that love for him when he was feeling a bit down about it after Dad had passed and kind of stepped out for a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets back into it soon.
He was doing UFC for a while.
He was
wasn't
doing
Yeah.
that, and he was doing Portland wrestling up in Oregon for a few years.
Right.
And then my older sister, my little sister, have kids and are living the mom life and happily married.
That's great.
Think I'm crazy?
Great. That's great. So, is there one opponent in pro wrestling, the whole industry, right now, that would be the dream match for you?
Ooh.
I know who it is.
Do you?
Yeah. I've got to see you against
I have
Charlotte
a-
Flair.
Obviously,
course.
I would love to be in the ring with Charlotte Flair. I mean, big respect for her family and her talent, and I would
Yeah.
just love to see to stack up against her. And right now I'm just focusing on training as hard as I can and as learning as much as I can, because I have a lot of people in my mind, especially at WoW. I'm looking at Tessa Blanchard, I'm looking at the Beast.
Oh yeah, Tessa Blanchard.
Don't tell them I'm training. I don't want them to know.
Yeah. No, Tessa Blanchard, of course, has made it all the way to the top of WoW.
She's a phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
So she's definitely somebody that I hope to get in the ring with at some point.
All right. Bill Apter with Teal Piper here in Allentown, PA. We'll see you at the matches.